it's me E and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be doing something of a life update. I had a great Christmas holiday. I lied. To be honest, I had a good time visiting with family, but it was very stressful and hectic and we didn't get a lot of rest and there was a lot of traveling and time on the road. And while we were gone, our dog Philo basically went totally blind. He's had cataracts since he was a puppy, and I've known that since he was a puppy, but they didn't really seem to impact his vision at all until we were gone on this trip. He really started to run into walls and lose his ball when he was playing with it and stuff like that. It was really difficult to watch. And we get back from this trip and I go to a doctor's appointment and I get kind of a plan to move forward with some things, and of course our insurance isn't going to cover any of it. And so between the dog and this other medical stuff going on, it's been kind of a tough beginning to the year, tough end of last year, beginning of this year, and it's been really super discouraging and yeah, just not a great time at all. We really want to get the dog's eyes fixed. He's only 4 years old and I don't think he should have to go through the rest of his life blind. So we're going to look into getting that done. And so on Wednesday, he has an appointment with an ophthalmologist and I guess we'll find out more then. But anyway, all that to say, it's a lot of expenses too. And so that's part of the reason why we're still doing a no-buy. Even though we did one last year, we're going to continue to do a no-buy. And honestly, the more I've thought about my rules for my no-buy this year, the more I'm like, ugh, maybe I should make them more strict, because we have a lot of stuff coming up and we need to be able to save money for it. But also, I've mentioned it before on this channel that I wrote a novel. I wrote it last year, or I should say 2 years ago, or I started it in 2019, okay? And I finished it last year and spent a lot of time last year editing it. I had other people, family and friends, look over the book and help edit it. And I thought, okay, I guess there's nothing more to do with it. I wasn't really planning to publish it or anything like that, even though I thought it was really good. I mean, I liked it. I know I wrote it, but the thing is, I'm sure if any of you are also writers, you have the experience of you'll write something, you'll spend hours and hours and hours working on it, and then you get done and you think, ugh, this is no good. But when I finished writing this book, I thought, this is good. I wanted to reread it. I thought it was fun and interesting and thrilling. So anyway, with all of those expenses in mind, I thought, okay, maybe I'll publish my book and family and friends can support us in that way, so that, yeah, they can get something in exchange for helping us through a tough time. And so I published my book through Amazon, and it's available on paperback and by ebook. And so that's kind of the background of this video, and I really want to spend the rest of this video talking about that book. And so let's just jump into it. The title of the book is Squatch Camp, and it is about two kids who go looking for Bigfoot at a church camp together. So the protagonists' names are Wesley and Jayla. Wesley is a believer. He believes in everything. Like, he grew up believing in Santa. He believes in God. He believes in Bigfoot, in the Loch Ness Monster, and all that kind of stuff. And his best friend Jayla is a total skeptic. So they're opposites in a lot of ways. Jayla is cool and sporty and popular, and Wesley is not at all. But they both have in common that they're kind of academic and nerdy and high achieving in school. And that's how they know each other, is through classes. And for whatever reason, they get along pretty well. And so Wesley manages to convince Jayla to go with him. And I don't want to spoil anything else about the book, really, because there's just a lot that's a lot of fun. And if you ever went to camp growing up, then I think the book would be kind of nostalgic to you, because there's like the archetypes of different kids that you meet and encounter at youth camp that are present in this book. And that's part of what kind of made this so much fun for me to write, is because I could draw on those experiences from when I was a kid growing up in youth camp and also being a nerd at school. But one thing I wanted to mention is that, the names of the characters in the book. So some people I know are reading the book now, and they may notice some names seem familiar. And that's definitely true. The names are familiar. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the characters are like one-to-one with people I know in real life. So there's a character in the book named Amira, who is one of Jayla's friends from school. And Amira was the name of a friend I had in middle school. And the Amira I knew in real life is nothing like the Amira in the book at all. But Amira in real life told me that her name meant princess, and that fit the character in the book really well. So that's kind of why I chose that name. There is the name Anitra, which is Jayla's mom's name, and Anitra is a woman that I worked with several years ago, and that name just kind of stuck with me as a name I liked. There's the name Jenny. There's a girl in the book in the youth group named Jenny, and I knew a Jenny in real life in my youth group. And Jenny in real life was very bubbly and effervescent and just had a super fun personality. But Jenny in the book is a little bit obnoxious, super talkative, and never shuts up, which was not really what Jenny was like in real life at all. I kind of took the energy from Jenny, but amped it up a little bit in the book, and so they're not very similar at all, really. And there are other characters' names as well that are inspired from real life, and like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean that the character in the book is like the person in real life. So if you know me in real life and you're reading the book and you see a name that seems familiar, then yeah, maybe that name was a name that I took from real life, but the character is not really inspired at all by the real life person. Some of the characters definitely are inspired by real life people, but I didn't name them after real life people, except for one. There's a character in the prologue named Mr. Brown who is their academic team coach, and my academic team coach in real life was named Mr. Brown. So I guess that's kind of the one direct rip from real life, but everything else is not. My protagonist Jayla is kind of a mix of different people I've known in real life, and so is Wesley, but they're neither one drawn from one person only. And I think that that's probably for the best, because you want these characters to be distinctive, and if you know somebody really well, it's hard to write their character exactly because they're so complex to you. So you kind of want to break people down into bits and take the parts that stand out the most and almost make kind of like a caricature. That's my opinion anyway of writing book characters, because if you try to write them too complex, there's too much going on and it just blurs into nothing. But those are the characters in the book, and I had a lot of fun naming the people, and obviously, like I said, remembering people in real life who inspired the names, if nothing else inspired the names. But anyway, if you know me in real life and you want to see if your name appears in the book, then you can check it out. I also want to mention that if you want to read my book but you don't want to pay for it, that's totally fine, and that's something you actually can do. If you have Kindle Unlimited, which I think is included with Amazon Prime, then you can read my book for free. And I think I actually make royalties based on the number of pages read, so it's a good way to support me or whatever without having to monetarily invest yourself, because I understand it's tough out there, and it's been a hard year for everyone financially too. If you can tell, I'm a little bit uncomfortable talking about my book. Like, if it weren't in the context of me talking about having the ambition of selling my book, I think it'd be a lot easier to talk about, because I've made 2 videos about this book in the past already, and those were easy to make. But now, if this is something you can actually read, I guess it makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But the last thing I guess I want to mention about the book is like kind of the takeaway from it. This book is geared toward middle school and high school readers. And it's not just because that's like the reading level of the book, but it's also like the themes I think would be appropriate for that age group. Like late elementary, their book might be a little bit intense for kids in that age group. There's super, super mild language. I don't use language in real life, and so I didn't really want to use very much of it in the book, but I thought it would be unrealistic if you have characters who are basically high school students and there's no language at all. So there's a little tiny bit, nothing that wouldn't be able to be aired on TV. So that's really not an issue. But then there's also, like, again, super mild sexual themes. Nothing really raunchy, but just kind of like, you know, young high school characters who want to grab the attention of someone of the opposite sex, maybe dress kind of promiscuously or something like that. And that's kind of an element of the book, is this kind of desire to be sexy and get people's attention. And again, it's not super graphic or illicit or anything like that, but it's maybe something that wouldn't be appropriate for like a 9-year-old to read about. But the takeaway from the book, the theme, I guess you would say, it's not like super come to Jesus-y. I didn't want to write a book like that. But it is something that maybe would cause you to ask questions, or the book asks the question of, you know, is there a God, and does he have a plan for our lives, or is everything just random? And that is kind of what the book explores, that question of, is everything just a coincidence, or is there a path that we have that we're on? And yeah, so that's really what the book is about. And of course, it's framed in this exploration, this search for Bigfoot. And it can be kind of a book that's thrilling at times and suspenseful and maybe a little bit scary, but it's not like horror at all. And there's also some pretty humorous moments as well. And I had a lot of fun writing it, and I really enjoyed this writing project. But it's one of those things where I think it'll make writing in the future difficult, aside from fan fiction, which is pretty easy to write. But writing original fiction in the future will make it hard to write, because I really enjoyed this so much, and I'm afraid that any experience I have in the future won't live up to the experience I had writing and working on this book. But anyway, if you read it and check it out, let me know what you think. And I will drop links in the description box down below if you want to check my book out, whether you want to buy it, or if you want to read it for free through Kindle Unlimited, or even if you just want to check out the Amazon listing. I don't know what you're interested in, but that's all I wanted to say. It's kind of my life update, and I hope you have a good one, and I will see you on Friday in my next video.